Yeah. Erev Tov. Moshe has commanded in this week's parsha to raise an army to make war against Midian. Tzorat Midyanim ki tzor imeim lochem. So it looks like it's a war of vengeance. You want to avenge what Midian did to you. Because Midian was the nation that sent their women into the Jewish camp. And even their women of aristocracy, like Cosby Basur, in order to seduce the Jewish people and in order to cause them to worship Avodah Zarah. So the Gemara derives from here a principle, something that at first blush is not necessarily easy for us to understand and assimilate. The Gemara says, "Godol ha'machtio yoseh me'hargo." The sin of someone who causes Jews to sin, who is the catalyst that others should sin, his punishment, his transgression is greater than even someone who was a murderer, killed. Why? Killing a person deprives the person of life in this world. But causing the person to sin, a machtio, that causes the deprivation of life in this world and in the next. So therefore, it is considered to be a greater sin. We have a concept in the Torah, not to put a stumbling block before the blind, which the Gemara expands to cover many, many situations. Some of those situations that the Gemara is talking about is that the person makes it easy, acceptable, regular for other people to sin. All people are susceptible. Nobody has the ability not to be tempted. That's why Chazal always speak about the Nachash, the snake in the Garden of Eden. The snake has a ready excuse. The Gemara says, "Ein shliach ledvar avera." Divrei Rav, Divrei Atalmid, Divrei Mishomin. So Adam and Chava had the choice not to eat from the Eitz Hadas. That is the statement of the Nachash. But since he is the one that caused it, that he was the catalyst So therefore, you see in the narrative of the Chumash that he is the one that is punished. Al Gechon Chotelech, he becomes the prime sinner in the matter. Why? Because he was machti them. He created the situation that brought them to sin. In our world today, there are literally industries that are only machtim. They create situations that Chazal say, Mayasa ben shelo yechta. It becomes almost irresistible. And therefore, how great is the chet that's involved there? The Jewish people faced many enemies. But the enemy of machti, of causing people to sin, that was always the most seductive and dangerous enemy by Klal Yisrael. Chazal say, out of the generations of the Bayis Rishon worship of Avodah Zarah. After all, it was a time of Nevuah. It was a time that the Nisim and the Beis Hamikdash were visible to all. And how could you do it? How could you bow down to Eitz Heaven? So part of the answer is the Gemara itself says, Lo avdu Yisrael avodah zorah ela lahatir lehem haroyos. They didn't mean the avodah zorah, but by adopting a culture of avodah zorah, by adopting a culture of idolatry, so then all of prohibitions and inhibitions of morality are canceled. Everything is mutter. So to them, that was the avenue by which they would get to do what they wanted to do, not because they believed in avodah zarah, because it created a culture for avodah zarah, and the culture of avodah zarah created, again, a society of promiscuity and of immorality. And we face that today. I mean, all of us are well aware of it. It's the great struggle that nobody speaks about. I think that much of the extreme wokeness that goes on in the world is only lahatir lahem haroyos, isn't that they believe in that? If that's the case, then you're allowed to, And there's nothing that's forbidden. There's nothing that's off the table. And the Midyonim created that society at the time of Moshe. And therefore, Pinchas struck the first blow. So we read in the parsha that Bilam ben Beor is also going to get killed. They say they killed him. They say Bilam said such nice things about us, right? I mean, if Bilam would come visit us today, he'd be in the King David, right? Said such nice things about us. What do you mean, Horgel Bachorab, that they killed him? But Bilam was the facilitator. He's the one that created such a society. I mean, if Bilam can behave as he did with his chamor, then everything is permissible. And if it's all permissible, then it's not difficult to understand how such an event as the daughters of Midian happened to Klal Yisrael in the desert. Because we're always vulnerable to these things. Knowing that in Yiddish they used to say, "My neshama is nitkin roshinke." My, my inner desires. I'm not a raisin. I'm susceptible, and because of that, therefore, that's how the Torah wanted us to look at things, and that's why Rotsa Kodesh Baruch Hu Lezakus is Israel. So, what does Lezakus mean? It's not only to give us merit; He wanted to cleanse us. He wanted to make us that we shouldn't have dirt upon us. And therefore, Torah mitzvahs. So that we now have a Torah mitzvahs that covers every occasion, every imaginable scenario in life. Everything is in the Torah. The Torah points as to what is permissible and what should be avoided. So this idea of machtio is a very important idea. And many times people unwittingly fall into it. It becomes part of their lifestyle, or it becomes part of their work, or part of their profession. And the Torah wanted us to avoid that at all costs. So they said, go to Lamachtia Yosim Horgos. If you say somebody's a murderer, wow, nobody wants to be a murderer. But Machtio could be. And especially in our time when communication is so easy, and there are so many avenues that it can be pursued and enhanced. So the opportunity for machtio is almost unlimited. And therefore the amount of defense that has to be taken, the strength that has to be shown in front of such dangers in such a society is also to be enhanced. So Bilam has to be eliminated. Bilam should not be tolerated because he brings, out of him comes all sorts of irreparable damage that the society suffers forever from. And that's something to be considered when we think of our educational systems, think of our universities, when we think of everything in life. God forbid that we should be in a society, a machtio, that deprives people of life in this world and in the next as well. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Omer Ratzak Baruch Hu Lezakus Israel. V'ficham chivu lahem Torah mitzvot shenema. I don't know if I've made some answers. Go, yeah,